meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Etter.
Here.
Mr. Naaman.
Here.
Mr. Souchaki.
Here.
Mr. Dobbins.
Here.
Mrs. Shuker.
Here, 5 present, 0 absent, and it is 7 p.m. On behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to welcome all students, staff, parents, and interested community members to tonight's Board of Education meeting. The board values and encourages public comment on education issues. Anyone having an interest in actions of the board may participate during the public comments portion of the meeting. Please identify yourself on the board sign-in sheet. A copy of the board meeting agenda is available for review on our school district's website, which is www.cuyhts.org. Please silence your cell phones during the meeting. Can we all stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I did.
Can I please have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Naaman,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Souchaki. Any discussion?
Yes, I have some. I'm going to ask that we take off the approval of the student handbooks because I didn't realize that I did not send you the cover page that has the summary of the changes that are in both books. So unless you went through them page by page and had an old one next to it, you would not know what changes we made. So I apologize for that. I will email the summary of the cover sheets out, and so you can have some time to look at them, and then we'll just vote on them at the next board meeting. There's no sense of urgency with, we need to get them out to get printed, but we have time, so.
Anything else? Okay. So can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Naaman.
Aye.
Mr. Souchaki.
Aye.
Mrs. Etter.
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye.
Mrs. Shuker.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next on the agenda is a presentation from BEST Committee Educational Consultant, Mr. Swisler. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Two of them?
Oh, there are two.
First of all, the BEST Committee again sends its greetings to you as the board and thanks you again for your support of this important committee over the course of this year. Again, I also want to thank you. It continues to be an ultimate pleasure for me to be connected to your school district and work with this fine group of people. And my voice has dropped a little bit. I have a cough drop in my mouth. I don't want to be rude. And I won't shake your hands or sneeze on you, I promise. Your two copies really should help you be able to see the discussions that the BEST Committee had as it updated the strategic plan for the coming 2019-2020 school year. If you notice the front, in fact, you could probably look at them in tandem. The one without the yellow or red was a working copy that really the last two meetings of the year, I think it was our April and May meetings that really even beginning in March, the committee began to discuss and to try to reach consensus as to what should be the strategies for the coming year. There is only one change to the beliefs because we always go back and take a look at beliefs, mission, and vision. And it's sort of interesting to see that all of the belief statements were created 8 years ago, except for the exception of the one about we believe our tuition program students enhance and enrich our school communities. That was added about 4 years ago. Over the course of time, things change in terms of educational conversations and where the focus is. And it was noted that really 8 years ago, our country was very focused on the need for a college education. And again, we had some new members who were not party to the conversation of 8 years ago, and they sort of questioned the first belief statement. So after discussion, you can see by looking at the actual copy that It now reads, "We believe that each student can learn and achieve, has different needs that must be met, will graduate college and career ready." And that, the thinking is from the BEST committee, yes, college is still a very important piece, whether it's a 4-year or 2-year program. Military also is very important, and so is our involvement with our career tech ed students and the connections we have with those programs. So it was reached by consensus, so this will really be the first time in 4 years the BEST committee asks that you also approve the change in the belief, mission, and vision. That is the only change that we ask. If you open your second, third, and fourth pages, this is where deletions are noted with red, with a line through it, and the additions are in yellow. And the uncolored copy should then be exactly as the red and yellows are blended together. Again, you can see that under Pillar 1 academics, again, a couple more continues to, because again, remember, especially with your input last year, remember that the original document last year started with you at your board retreat. Then it went to the BEST committee, and then it came back to you after input. So again, the BEST committee asked that we again continue to employ and retain the highest quality professionals, and again about the aligned professional development. Again, we continue to develop the STREAM curriculum offerings. We again are continuing to implement and enhance. We thought that was a better word than develop for RTI and PBIS. And again, this year we hope to have reports from school contacts on exactly how both programs are evolving. And again, the BEST committee recognizes that they will be developed slightly differently at each of the 3 schools, elementary, middle, and high school, which is really within the nature of PBIS and also RTI. Again, to continue to communicate about the Ohio assessment and accountability systems. Again, encouraging student participation and growth in college entrance exams. And then 2 are deleted. Continue to assess the value of all current curriculum offerings and seeking that, and they were replaced with continuing to investigate and assess the relevancy of curriculum offerings. So that takes care of the first pillar that we have. The second one, safety, security, and facilities. Build on to continue to increase student awareness and involvement in improving safety and security. Unfortunately, we continue to have incidents in our country that demonstrate the need for very strong vigilance. Continue to coordinate safety and security review with village officials. Again, we eliminated the capital improvements part that demonstrate the greatest gains because that was part of the conversation this year. Your community meeting was held down in the cafeteria. Students commented too on their involvement in the facilities survey that they took. So again, I applaud you because that was a wonderful way to begin. Obviously, keeping the 4 communities involved, review and make recommendations for facility improvements, and that's where the bullet above is sort of brought into this, that demonstrate the greatest gains from cost-benefit analysis, include all funding sources in the 5-year capital improvements plan. It's not written here blatantly, but I do want to assure you that the BEST committee stands with you on what you would ask that it do in the coming year if you wish to go down the road of capital improvements in preparing the 3 communities for what that would be. Again, we have members of all 3 villages involved with the BEST committee. We have our students and so on. And we recognize, just as you have talked about before, that the amount of groundwork before whatever decision you make as to how to pay for it or what will be involved. I mean, I think again, the stage that you set this year with the community evening event, students involved and so on, will again help lead the district to making a solid decision of when and where these outcomes could be really brought to the villages and explained early enough that all questions are answered and support for however it will be funded would take place. Communication and community outreach. A lot of these are just, again, the continuing all the solid gains that have been made with all the different communication tools that go on. Community outreach, again, collaborate with PTO and other district organizations to expand family nights and the community open house. It was agreed that that is now what the open house in January will be called, just community open house. It involves all communities. Again, about the update the 3 village council meetings at least twice a year. And again, remember that we already have the schedule for the village council meetings, which will be coming up soon. On June 2nd, we go to Valley View at 6:45, and then go on our way to Brooklyn Heights. The following Wednesday, we go to across the street to Cuyahoga Heights. I will email you the dates and the times and so on. And really, especially with the cohesiveness and the alignment that you have brought to the district as the Board of Education, again, if at all possible, it would be great that you might also attend, because we'll be talking about the strategic plan at all 3 villages. The last bullet under community outreach is a new one, and that comes out of the conversation from the front page, where we have a belief statement that says we should increase our local business partnerships. So that was turned into a bullet under community outreach. I thank you, and I thank Mr. Evans, and I thank Mr. Coleman for the opportunity of working with the Principals Advisory Committee this year. It was one of the joys of not being in a classroom, and I appreciate Mrs. Etter having come and visited us, and she got to see the kids at work. We did a number of wonderful things that involved what was written from last year. We did cost-benefit analysis about phys ed classes. The kids did a lot of research related to many others. So really, these started as the Principals Advisories Group recommendation for the strategies under the advancement of student opportunities. Obviously, the kids are, and I don't think just the members of the Principals Advisory Committee, but I think the students here recognize the need for ongoing training in technology. Remember that was one of the first topics we talked about with the Principals Advisory Committee, especially the use of email, which is a foreign tool for most of the kids. They are much more into texting and things like that. So again, the first bullet is to continue to increase technology, and it goes on through all these different parts that would be obviously important. Really, the students also would like to see an increase in the number of technology classes to teach the more complex computer functions, increase exposure to spreadsheets such as Excel and formal email composition. It was interesting because all of my communications with the student members was by email. So in a way, they were sort of nudged to open attachments on email and know when our meeting dates were and so on. And again, I think it was a positive thing. The kids recognize that when they go to college, email may be the university's major mode of communication with students. So they should learn, really, again, not so much what texting's all about. There is a formality to email that is used, and that was really what we followed with this. The piece about continue to increase student exposure to diverse populations, again, through different cultural awareness activities. The next bullet was eliminated. Then it goes to continue to provide opportunities that create an environment that develops the full ability of each student. And that's not to say that isn't being done, but it's a continue to. And then the last bullet is, and this was really the investigation about the PE credits. Many of the students have friends in bigger high schools where taking part in cheerleading band or sports allows there to be phys ed credits. They did a really good study of you know, what are the benefits? In fact, they looked at using the current plan where you can really take more than the required number of physical education classes, whether there could be a blended learning piece with online and actual classes and so on. But we really was thought that the best thing really is to investigate and report findings on the possible implementation of an early bird or 10th period option for the earning of physical education credits by high school students. That would be a class before school starts officially, or at the end of the day. Again, the students are willing to work with Mr. Evans and Dr. Caleres and Mr. Coleman just to see what potential would be there. All the students thought there was great value in physical education class, not just in the increase in the skills related to the activities kids do, but just the fact that it brings kids of all sorts of different athletic abilities together, and they all get to grow. Under the continued part of advancement, assess students' readiness for college and career level requirements, emphasize the relationship between involvement in student activities. They did a really good job of looking at all the activities that are offered here, elementary, middle, and high school. And again, they defined what the broader life skills are. That was one of the big things they did. They just took broader life skills and said, okay, that's responsibility, time management, work ethic, teamwork, communication skills, learning, and I love this part, learning to fail, lose, or win, and social skills and so on. So the kids now have something very strong to begin to help promote why it's good for kids to get involved. The second to the last bullet really follows where the students earlier in the year and the PAC recommended perhaps moving open house away from its traditional January date, because they are aware that in the world of parochial and private education, it's really in 7th grade when the seeds are planted to go to high school someplace else. They have visitation days in 7th grade. In fact, some Catholic schools, I imagine some private schools, have testing in 7th grade and 8th grade as a way of planting the seeds. Because of the success of open house, and the community does appreciate and support it strongly, the students are supporting keeping it in January, but they wish to work with Mr. Coleman and Mr. Evans in making improvements in the shadowing experience. Typically, I understand that's in the fall, so adding some elements to that, especially a parental part, and making it a little more fine-tuned, the students feel that that will help the success of open house in drawing more students. And again, not just students from the tuition program, but from the 3 communities who may be enrolled in other schools. And they're happy to be able to ask to continue the Principals Advisory Committee. That was really one of their strong recommendations. Enrollment remains the same, except for, again, dropping the name 4 communities and just calling it Community Open House. Under finances, again, continue to evaluate and report on the district finances. The BEST Committee commends Mr. Muccio for being an actual member of the BEST Committee who comes to every meeting, actively participates, and is transparent in where we are financially. So, Mr. Muccio, I'm happy to say that on their behalf. All the other ones remain the same. Continue to provide transparency and ongoing communications, continue to implement automated systems, and so on. So as you can see, there's really not a whole lot of dramatic changes. The BEST Committee will be entering, I believe it's 9th year in service to the school district. It is, again, a wonderful thing that every year we have people who have been with us for as long as the group has existed, and new members. And new members, I think, find it to be a positive experience to get involved and to add their voices to the future of the school district. As in the past, it will be important that at some point, because again, the belief, mission, and vision really are what you say they are as the board. It's important that you acknowledge the change that the best committee, if you agree with it, because again, this is on your publication, it's really important. And obviously, if you also, again, would add your approval to this plan so that the best committee could get started. Really, I think this year, the best committee's thought is, again, especially with your direction, the direction of Mr. Evans and Mr. Muccio, is to begin to plan in August of this year for pieces of things that need to be done, particularly if you are really gonna look at the capital improvements pieces, because they would like to get ahead of the curve into how you feel they can be helpful, because they stand ready to help. Any questions? Thank you all very much.
And let us thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank
We
you
need to
very much.
thank you for your involvement.
I can only tell you again, the best part of my career has come at the end.
Okay, at this time, are there any comments from the public? Hearing none, we'll move on to the treasurer's business.
Thank you, President Schukert. Only 3 recommendations tonight. First recommendation, 5A, motion to approve the minutes of April 24th, 2019's regular meeting, is found in attachment C1. Next recommendation, 6A, motion to approve amended 2-year exempt classified staff contract for Yelixa Rodriguez, payroll and HR specialist, effective July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2020. And 6B, motion to approve amended continuing exempt classified staff contract for Kathy Martin, assistant treasurer, effective July 1st, 2019.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion moved by Mr. Naaman,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Suchaki. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mrs. Etter, or excuse me, Mr. Naaman.
Aye.
Mr. Suchaki.
Aye.
Mrs. Etter.
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye.
Mrs. Schukert.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Any comments?
Just one. We're getting ready to have our May 5-year forecast brought for board approval. We're looking to have that at the May 29th board meeting coming up. I'll email out to everybody a draft of the 5-year forecast well in advance. Tweaking it right now at the moment. But we may want to look to have a finance committee meeting maybe the week of the 20th.
It's next week.
It's next week. Could see if I can do it. Yeah. I'll try to get something in there. Let's see here.
Any other discussion?
That's all I have. Thank you.
No. It's a record-setting length.
I know. All right, moving on to superintendent's business. Mr. Evans.
Superintendent's business, A, approved purchase orders of over 5,000. You see those in the attachment. B, approved 2019-20, or we're gonna take that off. I'm sorry, remove B, we will not be doing that. Moving down to agreements, contracts, and memberships. Approved agreement with Educational Service Center of Northeast Ohio for technology and professional development services for 2019-20 school year. B, approval of the agreement with RKD Management, Fast Track Auction Sales to conduct public online auctions for 2019-2020. Approval of membership at no cost in the Ohio High School Athletic Association, grades 7 through 12 for 2019 and 20. D, approval agreement with ESC of Northeast Ohio for students enrolled in the Positive Education Program at Prentice Autism Center. E, approval of the agreement with Naviance for career and college services. Personal resignations, A, accept staff resignations as listed. Employment, certified staff, A, approve reemployment of Brad Dippert as a middle school, high school teacher on a continuing certified staff contract effective 2019 and 2020 school year. B, improve the reemployment of certified staff for 1920 per attached list, and I want to read that list to you. That's on one-year limited contracts for 19 and 20. Lindsay Andreski, Kendra DeVito, Brooke Dragon, Sarah Falther, Kelsey Healy, Jory Huffman, David Michaels, Caitlin Nolan, Patrick Patterson, Jim Rademacher, Kristen Rex, Kelly Ryan, Madison Smith, John Sokol, Corey Taylor, and Becky Voitek. C, approve the employment of Kyle Manfredoni as an elementary school teacher for 2019 and 2020. D, approve employment of Matthew Salzwimmer as an elementary school teacher for 2019 and 2020. And E, approve the employment of Linda Mayer as a long-term sub, middle school, high school, effective April 24th, 2019. 13, employment classified staff, approve employment of Samantha Matrikos as a teacher assistant for 2019-20. B, approve employment of Kaylin Ackerley as a teacher assistant for 2019-20. Employment supplemental positions, approval employment of course of study writing for supplemental positions for the summer of 2019 per the attachment. B, approve employment of Samantha Matrikos on a supplemental contract as a summer school teacher. C, approve attendance of cafeteria employees at food safety training during the summer of 2019. 15, employment of substitutes and as-needed staff. Approve the employment of substitute pool fitness center cashier. B, approve employment of bus van drivers for summer 2019 extended school year summer camp and special education routes. And C, approve employment of summer maintenance aides for the summer of 2019. I would ask that that be approved on the consent agenda.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion moved by Mr. Naaman,
Second?
seconded by Mrs. Etter. Any discussion?
Just a couple things. So the course of study writing, we're probably looking at about 15 people that will be updating and rewriting some of the courses of study based on the standards-based academy, assessment academy. We'll also be revising our English curriculum 9 through 12, Mrs. Neville, Mr. Dippert, Mrs. Siley. The summer maintenance aides, we had a tremendous number of students apply for summer work. I know a couple of years ago, everybody that applied, we hired. We're a little thin. This year, we had over 40 students apply. We're gonna employ about 20 students. And we're gonna continue to do some of the things that we started last year. We're gonna have there's some technology aids in there that will help and be able to assist Dave this summer. We've hired some students that are paint crew that will work with Greg Marcinek. We got a big chunk painted last year. We'll get some more painted this year. And Mrs. Mooney will have her regular crew, but then we're also gonna have some students that we'll be able to do some special projects with around the building, some things that we know that we've targeted to be done that we don't necessarily need to contract out for, that we can, under the right supervision, can have some of the students get done during the summer. So we've got a big summer list in front of us. Neil and I are meeting, and we'll move forward with that.
Could I have a little bit more explanation on this fast track auction sales? What kind of things are we gonna be selling?
Well, we have to offer anything that's of public property to the general public to sell at first and foremost. What schools used to do themselves, they used to run their own auctions. So the school districts would store items, maybe an old fertilizer spreader, books, tables, desks, in a part of the school, and then when they decided to have an auction, they'd publicize and people would come in, they'd run a regular auction. That was very commonplace. With the advent of the internet and online auctions, the state's made it legal for us to do that via online auctions. So that's what we do. The company that we previously had, we had contracted through Ohio Schools Council. Ohio Schools Council had some difficulties with them, and they're not with them, so the group that we were previously using, we're not using anymore. So this is a new group that Dave's done a little bit of research on, so we can continue to go ahead and offer some things online. Majority of it is furniture for this year, and if you see the purchases over 5,000, Dr. Caleres has been working his fingers to the bone as far as getting furniture replaced in the district the last 3 years.
Yeah.
We're in a great place, because we hadn't replaced furniture in a long, long time here in the district. So But just, it is of some value, the online auctions, there are groups of people that watch that, it's just an easier way for us to move it. They buy it online, they make the payment through the company, we get our check from the company, schedule a pickup date for the people to come, they come and pick it up, we don't deliver anything.
Okay.
It's here and gone.
So it's not like a one-day thing or a week
No,
thing, it's
no,
just online
it's-
and,
It's for a period of time. Dave, how long do we standardly run the auctions for when we put stuff online?
Usually runs for 2 weeks.
2 weeks, and then after we've offered it via auction,
Yes.
and if nobody's purchased it, then we can, if anybody just kinda comes in and wants it, or if a staff member wants to buy it, then we can sell that. Now, a staff member can buy it on auction, or anybody, but then we have the ability to say, well, hey, listen, we still have this sitting here. We've got a machine down there that's, was from the original machine shop that, we've tried on a couple occasions to sell online, and I think we're gonna throw it up one more time when I talk to Dave. But it's just an old, outdated machine. But I did have a parent that does some machining on their own, their own, that has expressed some interest in it. And they're just gonna kinda wait to see
What
if
happens.
anybody on the auction is interested, or if it doesn't sell in the auction, they'll come and they make us an offer. And the deal with that is it's gonna take, 4 men and 2 mules to get it out of the building, so.
I see that we're giving them a commission of 30% of
Yeah.
whatever we sell.
Yep.
That's pretty standard, I would
Yeah,
guess.
I think the deal was better with the other company, but the other company was not as reliable, so that hence we have to make a
Yeah.
change, so.
Mr. Evans, this was recommended this company was recommended from Ohio School.
Yeah, this again,
Oh, good.
but they're working on a contract with them, I think, right now, too,
Okay.
through Ohio Schools Council.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if some of our items can be of value to someone
Yep.
else and give us a little money back to the
Yep.
district.
And the other thing that we try to get away from is just storing things all over the building. You know, the old foundry down there, at one point in time, they had stuff stored up to the windows, and I said, we gotta get this stuff out of here, we gotta get it out for auction, if it doesn't sell, then we need to scrap some stuff, we just need to, as we replace desks and chairs and things become obsolete, you know, VCRs and that, were sitting down there, I said, if it has some value to somebody, great, if it doesn't, when in doubt, throw it out, you know.
I noticed just a very minor point, I didn't catch it when I was going through this before the meeting. Under 10A, the document has it's the right document, but it's got the wrong title. It doesn't match the descriptor or the document. It's marked a North 2 contract, or North 2, and it's really the ESC contract.
That
I mean, the
is-
document's correct, but the title's wrong. I don't know if that would confuse somebody at some future date, but I just thought I'd mention that.
The ESC Northeast now has the consortium pricing with North, which is out of
Oh.
out of the Lorraine County
Yes.
ESC, so we contract with the ESC, but the services are provided by North.
Oh, okay,
So that-
because it does say ESC.
Yeah, that's a contracted price. By going through the ESC, we save a few dollars on that.
But we go through our ESC.
Yes.
To use their service out of the
Right.
Lorraine County.
They
ESC.
actually work out of Lorraine's ESC.
Right, I know that. Yep. I actually drive past that every now and then. Okay, all right, that explains it.
You know,
Thank you.
At some point, next year, I'll do a little presentation on the Ohio Schools Council and the benefits of our membership there and that group purchasing and the collaborative things that they do. And we really save a lot of money throughout the district because all that's pre-bid. They do all the legwork for us. In a lot of those instances, they've got companies submitting bids, and so it's a no muss, no fuss process for us here. It saves us a lot of time, effort, and energy. So I would ask that those items be approved.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Naaman.
Aye.
Mrs. Etter.
Aye.
Mr. Suchaki.
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye.
Mrs. Schukert.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Any discussion?
Just a whole bunch going on. The music concert was last night, outstanding. My understanding is the orchestra concert was equally as great last night. We had a packed house last night. Mr. Stefanko, the fire chief from Brooklyn Heights, was there, and he didn't say anything to me, so I think we were safe. But I teased a little bit about it at the chamber meeting today. Great chamber meeting today. Myself, Ben Hegedus from Independence, Dave Mangus from the Career Center, and Bob Mangrick from the ESC. And it's, as I drove away, it's it's one of those things that, you know, we are in such a great place, not only between the relationship that we have with independents and the things that we do cooperatively as smaller districts and sharing, and if you were, the three of you were there today, you heard me say that our goal is always for independents to be as good as they can, because that makes us better, and they look at us the very same way. But then they have one of the top career centers that services our students, and then what I consider the top ESC in the state of Ohio to service our district. We're just in such a good place right now. I got to do a little bit of bragging about our U.S. News and World Report numbers. Number 31 in the state, top 3% in the state of Ohio, number 917 in the country, in the top 5% out of 12,000, the top 5% in the nation, which is better than the school down the road. Number 13 in the 7-county area. If you look at that list, that's a pretty prestigious list. So we're very proud of those accomplishments. Talked about some of our programming that's going on here, and then also got to rub a little salt in the wound on some of the athletic success that we've had here, which is always a pleasure for me to do. So I probably didn't show too much today. I don't think.
Oh, it was over there.
It showed.
But you know, we're in a great place. Last week was Teacher Appreciation Week, and you know, the PTO really did a phenomenal job of providing some things for the teachers, and I sent a note out to them that we're in a very good place right now as a district, and I appreciate that our teachers every day wake up and treat our students as if they were their own children, and challenge them and push them to be better, and are compassionate with them, and that they are the backbone of what we do here. And I just can't say, I said in the note to them that sometimes thank you never seems like enough to them, because they wake up every day and try and be better. And just about the time I think that we're hitting the top of the mark, one of the teachers will come in and say, hey, I got an idea, we want to do this, and it's driven by them, and it isn't that way in a lot of districts. So I'm very thankful. I send in my note to the teachers. As I go to state meetings, I sometimes sit back and listen to other districts talk about difficulties that they're having, maybe administrators with teaching staffs or community or whatever's going on in the district, and I kind of sit back and I realize that I have the best job in education, so that's because of the people here. So good things going on at Heights right now.
Great.
All right, so now we are moving on to item 18, policy and bylaw review. Because it's the first reading, do you want to take over, Mr. Evans?
I will do that. Bear with me as I click them up here. The first one is definitions, some changes to definitions, and these were driven by some law changes down in Columbus, so some updates there. The checkbox bylaws and policies is the same as that was in our previous policy. They took personal communication devices and just changed it to wireless devices. And if you see the last, that paragraph, board members and other stakeholders and members of the community have been added to that part of the policy as well. Our ESC is the ESC of Northeast Ohio, not the, you know, they've gone through the name change over there, so we kind of will recognize that in the change as well. As far as the choices there on page, as we move down through that, on page 4, we stayed with option 2, which is what our current language is, although grandparent is authorized to provide consent in school-related matters that obtain the school district educational behavioral information, that paragraph. So that's the same as it currently is, as is the next page. So all the rest of that is as our policy currently reads. There's been an add-on in social media. You can see that, and again, that's driven by some language in the state law.
Mr. Evans,
Yeah.
on that policy, on page 2, I'm looking at the definition of compulsory school age. It looks like there might be a word missing there, just some kind of a typo or a grammar in the first sentence.
Compulsory school age, child between the age of 6, and 18 years.
Yeah, no,
or 18.
yeah.
Okay, very good.
Just a very minor item.
That's good. Well, we will certainly let Neola, and we're, you know, with the new online stuff, we're just getting into the, we're getting our first set of policies back from Neola that we approved as a board, so we're, Mrs. Riley's kind of working through that process right now, so that's a good catch. Thank you on that part of it. And I think that's it for changes in this policy, correct? The next four policies are, I'm sorry, sexual violence policy for, that's first reading on that policy. And I won't go through that one word by word. This is a new policy for us. I don't know if this one was omitted when the board updated policies. This is one of the things I talked to the board about this summer. Mr. Muccio, myself, and John Britton sitting down and doing an audit of our policies. I know when we went from OSBA policies to Neola policies, a lot of meetings took place and a lot of things got put in what was called the parking lot. And I don't have a list of whatever came out of that. John's works with Neola, Matt and I, we're gonna get a master list of policies, and we're gonna go through and just audit our policies and make sure that we have everything in place that we need to have. We're not in any danger, because anything that's not in our policies falls back on our Ohio Revised Code, but we wanna make sure that we have in place what we need to have in place as a district. So, the sexual violence policy will be a new add-on for us and, into our policies. And then the next four, anti-harassment, are virtually an identical policy that shows up in 4 different places throughout the board policy book. And again, there's been some legal changes that have been prompted in that one. And if it pulls up for me, I'll try and highlight those. Page 2, there's 24 pages there. I think I'll allow you to take a look at its first reading. If you have questions, let me know. But there have been some legal changes, and you'll see those are in dark print as we move through that. Everything else is as was in our current policy, so we didn't make any changes whatever, as far as whether there's options. If it's an option we selected, it's the same as what we currently have in policy. So we're not recommending changes on any of those. And so those are the policies. The other policy that I will I'll bring before the board at the next board meeting for discussion. We'll be able to approve these. You got an email from me on the nepotism policy. I forwarded John Britton's opinion on that, and because I don't have that in front of us, we won't discuss that tonight, but I'll put that on the next agenda meeting. I think some people might want to reach out to Mr. Britton to ask him some specific questions. I would encourage you to do that. I don't need to be the go-between on that. I think we're asking some legal questions there. If you don't have John's number, I will gladly forward it to you. John and I talked at length on that, and I told him that if he forwarded, as he did, forward his opinion to me, I would forward it to the board, and that I would have the board contact him directly for any questions that they had on that. So I know that one board member's already reached out to me, and John's more than happy to answer from the legal standpoint, and also from his opinion as a policymaker that what direction we should go with that. So that's what I have for policies.
The anti-harassment compliance officers, I know at the Career Center, apparently this is a change for this year, this highlighted section that says, for the complainant's comfort, districts are advised to appoint both male and female. And I know at the Career Center, we have appointed a female compliance officer.
We don't have enough administrative team so we've kept that, just based on size,
Yeah.
to Dr. Claris. That's been a positional thing. And we talked about that briefly, but
Okay.
that's also, due to the nature of her position, that's probably not a position that because Mrs. Houchin's the only female
She's
member
the
of our
only
administrative team.
option, yeah.
That's not, we would not want to put her in that position because of just what her day-to-day activities are. So, Dr. Claris handles our Title IX issues, and he's kind of, he functions separately from our building principals, and that makes it the right place to run it through for us.
That, I would agree with that, yeah. Okay, just wanted to be sure that you had
No, we
given it some.
Dr. Claris and I had some discussion about it, and we kind of kicked around some alternatives, and we just felt that in our current situation that it was best to just leave him as that person.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to board business resolutions and approving requests to attend professional conferences. We have two, Mr. Muccio going to the ASBO, and OAPT Transportation, Financial Reporting, and Data Collection, NE, Region Seminar in Twinsburg on 6/21/2019 for $120. and Mr. Evans and Mr. Muccio attending BASA Leadership and Team Planning Institute in Westerville on June 6th through June 7th for $195 for the fee.
Is that $195 for each?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, it's, the entire administrative team is going, you have to approve Matt and I. That's the one that we had discussed previously, and we're gonna do some long-range planning at that one, and we got a group rate, because they give you a set rate for 5, then if there's one additional,
Yeah, I
there's,
saw that.
there's an
Okay.
add to that, so, but, looking forward to, and that's really, that's another one of those conferences where you're gonna see a professional meeting request form, but meals are pretty much included with that, and so I think that the cost of the conference covers just about everything minus the hotel, so.
Has your group attended this previously?
No, this is new from BASA. This is the first year they're running it out, and it's actually, and what intrigued me about this is not only BASA, this is ODE in the room with us, along with some other, kind of high level. So we have talked about this from the standpoint of, as an administrative team, you know, we do our year-long planning at the ESC, at the end of, the beginning of the school year in August, when we do our retreat there, and we do everything, map everything out for the year calendar-wise, drills and all those types of things. That's very functional for this. But our long-range planning, finances, now capital improvement will play into that. What we're gonna do curricular, maybe looking at some possible, retirements on the horizon, where we're gonna go, what direction philosophically, to put a framework in place so that we're all on the same page, and we can sit in a room, because when the school year is in session, that time's hard to come by.
Oh, yeah.
And this gives us a couple days where we can really sit down and have some discussions and really do some planning and, with some long-range things
Seems like a
for us.
very good idea.
So,
I'm sure you get a lot out of it.
we haven't done that as a team. My team, we got a good team in place here, and looking forward to some good conversation and really putting some goals down for us as an administrative team, and how that trickles down into the district, so.
And continuing moving that arrow in the same direction.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
Mr.
that's right.
Zillers on here.
absolutely.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the board business consent agenda? Motion.
So moved.
Move, was that a move by Mr. Dobbins? Did he get in there?
You have to be the final judge.
Moved by
Did I?
Mr. Dobbins.
It takes him a while to recover from the vacation.
Jet lag.
It's gotten this far in the meeting, and I think,
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Suchaki, roll call.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye.
Mr. Souchaki.
Aye.
Mrs. Etter.
Aye.
Mr. Naaman.
Aye.
Mrs. Schuster.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Next is board discussion, superintendent treasurer evaluations. We received Mr. Muccio's, his notes on his evaluation. They're the large copy, so we can see it. Mrs. Etter, I love it, you?
Yes, I do, thank you.
I can't read
My
it.
eyes, thank you also.
And we have Mr. Evans via email, right?
I've got to update some things on
Okay,
that.
so the timeline, if it's okay with the board, is we will meet, after, like, an executive session to review as a team next board meeting, so May 29th, whatever that is. And that point, we'll talk collectively about, you know, our summary, we'll build that summary. And I'm looking at scheduling a special meeting in June. Not sure when, I'll have to talk to you guys about just your availability. Rather than have it a super long, executive session where both of them are waiting individually, I think it's okay to schedule a special meeting to have both of them there. We could schedule, you know, a time slot. And we'll give the evaluation at that time.
Okay.
Sound okay?
Sounds good.
Does anybody have any questions or concerns or suggestions or?
So at the next meeting, then, we would have our thoughts
Yes,
individually, and then we'd essentially
Yes.
be discussing each of our thoughts and combining them.
yes. And hopefully, at that meeting, we'll leave having our collective thoughts.
You might want to get your doodle out now for a June meeting,
Okay,
so just
I'm on that.
Yeah. I'll get one out for finance too, see if we can get it together next week sometime.
Hold on. Well, and I don't know about you guys, but that, it seems to me like just personally, I tend to save my Wednesdays just because of this. So I don't know if the Wednesday, one of the Wednesdays in the in-between the two meetings would work.
Sure.
But I think that's kind of gonna be like my target, but, so just take a look at that. We'll email to pick a date, 204, special meeting. Is there a time of the day, like, I know Mr. Neiman.
June 19th?
What's,
Yeah,
are
that'd
we,
be-
are we talking like a day of the week? Would probably, like a weekday, we're not doing a
Yeah.
weekend, never mind, why am I
I
asking
know
that?
that mid part of June is gonna be bad,
Is
because
that
I'm
hard
gonna
for you?
be out
Okay,
of town
Okay.
for that, but,
Okay.
I can usually make anything work. You know, it's better if it's 6, I can make it at 5, if it's earlier, to
Okay.
shorten that time frame for everybody, so that they. so I'll
with like
just
a
leave it-
5:30, like compromising like a
Yeah,
5:30?
that's perfectly fine, I mean, maybe even a 5 if I can arrange for it in advance, so I know that, because that becomes after we file our 10K and everything, so
Okay.
good. Yeah.
I don't see, again, I don't see this being a long thing, maybe
Yeah,
like
it's
a
okay.
half hour,
It's no problem.
right, would you say? About a half?
Just to present, correct?
To present, well, to share the evaluation with the
Well,
individuals.
I mean, the other option too is like, I mean, and it depends on all the other board members and also Mr. Evans and Mr. Muccio, is like, we can do it in the morning too, early. If you wanted to do it at like, say, 7:30,
I work
oh, yeah.
by 8,
Yeah.
Maybe
Okay,
in
or even
June?
but,
7, yeah.
I mean, I don't have time to get off,
Yeah,
us working both, but.
either way.
Sorry to hear that.
But I get off like mid-June,
That's
for
true.
summer break, so, yeah.
That's
So
true. So
after
by May
mid-June.
19th, you would be available,
I have to look, yeah,
potentially.
I have to look. Oh, that's early, 7:30?
Yeah.
That's awfully early.
Summer
God.
break?
7:30.
It's
Summer
summertime,
break,
too.
or for us retired people, 7:30
Yeah,
is awfully
7:30
early.
Yeah,
early.
7:30, how do you feel about that, Gary?
I don't feel that happy about it either.
All right, well, that was a good suggestion,
Next
however,
time, next
I'll
time.
add it to the doodle, we'll see who votes for that.
I'll let you like figure that out. If you would like to do it later, no problem. Or earlier even, like, we can do it at 5 if you
Oh.
want.
I'm gonna just
PM,
stop it
not
there.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to board committee reports and comments. Do you wanna go first, Mr. Dobbins?
Oh.
Putting you on the spot after a long time?
Well, just to add on Mr. Evans' comments today, I did attend the Cuyahoga Valley Chamber of Commerce State of the Schools meeting, and I thoroughly enjoyed the comments, and I appreciate the multiple presentations from the Career Center and from Mr. Evans and Mr. Hegedish and from the ESC, Mr. Mengerink. It was a nice kind of one-stop shop to hear what's going on academically in our schools.
Excellent. We're glad to have
Gotcha.
you back,
Thank you, glad to be back.
Mr.
And
Suchek.
just picking up where Mr. Dobbins left off, I think the way that Mr. Evans and Mr. Hagedish played off each other this afternoon was really excellent. I think it demonstrated to everybody in that room that our two districts really are working together for the benefit of all the students and all the staff, frankly. And I think moving forward, that's a good thing. It's good that I'd like to see us continue, and I know we are continuing in that direction, so I appreciate that. And that's about all I have.
Wow, excellent, Mrs. Etter.
I'd just like to say again, thanks to Mr. Switzler and the BEST Committee for all their work this past year and in their commitment to the betterment of our school. I also attended the Chamber of Commerce State of the Schools today. Was very pleased to be there, and I too found that even though I think I know what's going on in our district, it's nice to hear it again. And it's also good to hear what's happening down the road. And I do feel like we're just probably one of the best and luckiest people around to have two good school districts that neighbor each other, because I think we feed off of each other, and I think we should all be very happy with the education that's being provided here at both districts. I'm so excited about the U.S. News and World Report. I think we should be shouting it from every rooftop in every 3 community, in all of our tuition students' homes as well. We just have to get that out to everyone so that other people will know what a great school district that we have. You know, I'm so glad how you presented it today, Mr. Evans, in terms of where we stand in the state and where we stand in the nation, and even where we stand in our seven-county area. It just re-emphasized over and over again the quality education that's happening here. And I would just like to say, as the school year winds down, a special shout out to our graduating seniors. I hope they have a great prom, and I look forward to senior night and commencement. That just seems like it's around the corner for all these guys.
It is, actually.
Yeah. So it seems like the school year's flown by. I guess
10
people say
days.
that all the time. That's all I got.
Thank you. Mr.
I'm gonna-
Neiman.
Well, first I'll echo a lot of the comments that have been already said. I won't go into great detail, but I wanted to build on what, Mr. Evans has said, is where, we're kind of like a thank you and all the best to the students as we kind of culminate the school year with the final exams and all the hard work that's been put in to get to this point, get our graduates to walk across the stage and receive their diplomas. And that's what it's all about. So, best of luck and thank you for everyone's hard work to get to this point. To the seniors, congratulations on the graduation upcoming in the next week and a half. Have a safe prom. Good luck to all of our spring sports teams as they're participating in all of their state athletic events. And really, I attended the orchestra concert, the strings, last week, phenomenal. So congratulations to the entire music department. I'm sure that the vocal concert was spectacular yesterday, and I'm sure that the band concert will be great too next week, so, or later this week. So that's it.
I think it's tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow
I
night.
think it's tomorrow. Yeah.
I just have a couple items. I just want to say thank you to the teachers and to the staff, administration, for, it was Appreciation Week, and just thank you. We couldn't be here without what you guys do for our district. And good luck the last couple weeks. I know it's hard sometimes, keeping them focused. And good luck to the students taking final exams, and seniors are doing senior project,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, that's what you
So
get.
hopefully they're having fun and learning a lot, and, again, be safe at prom. That's all I've got. Yes?
Can I add one other item? At today's luncheon, one of our students, Taylor Schaefer, received a scholarship from the Cuyahoga Valley Chamber of Commerce, and it was
Yes.
well-deserved.
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. Moving on to the next item, possible future agenda items. Does anybody have any items to list here?
Other than the ones we talked about, the handbook and the
Policy.
Okay.
nepotism?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So moving on to informational items. It should be noted that the Board of Ed members receive their agendas several days prior to the actual meeting. Thus, they've had considerable opportunity to study it, ask questions, etc. Upcoming regular board meetings right here in this library, May 29th, June 12th, June 26th, August 7th, and August 21st, 2019. That's crazy to just go through the entire summer that quickly.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, at this point, it is 7:58, and I hereby move that the board adjourn to executive session pursuant to ORC Section 121.22G1 for the purpose of discussing the employment of personnel.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Naaman. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Schukert,
Aye.
Mr. Naaman,
Aye.
Mrs. Etter,
Aye.
Mr. Suchak.
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. It is 7:59, and we are in executive session with no action taken after.
Oh, yeah, I'd have to log back on.
Okay,
Log back on, we just have to turn the mics on.
let me go to that part. Okay, it is May 15th, 2019, 8:31 PM, and we are returning from executive session. I'll make a motion to reconvene to open session.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Naaman. Roll call, Mrs. Schukert, aye. Mr. Naaman?
Aye.
Mrs. Etter?
Aye.
Mr. Suchaki?
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. At this point, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Etter.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Dobbins. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. It is 8:31 PM.